recognized by the United Nations, and it published in his website, the recognizes Kailasa's report on COVID-19 and multilateralism. You can see the screenshot from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's Facebook page. You can see some more screenshot of this detailed report. You can go ahead and click on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's Facebook page and click on this article and read the thorough report, including the supporting various documentation, the articles. The report published on their website, the United Nations website, https://www.ochr.org. Adi Shaivite minority tradition and the globalization of disease has led the world to be only as resilient as the least resilient country and person, especially for highly contagious COVID-19, which has spread the scale of and severity not seen since Spanish flu. The variants of the virus, such as Delta and Delta plus, Epsilon, Gamma, and such, continue to threaten even those vaccinated. Secondary diseases such as black fungus are targeting COVID-19 patients and killing almost 1 in 2 persons in such cases. In this report, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism multiple times said in his satsangs that, and which is published and recognized by the United Nations, that human life is more precious and important than all economic principles or systems in totality, because all these concepts are legitimate only because of their utility value, which is to fundamentally make human life better. At least until this ongoing crisis ends, all economic policies related to money, banking, fixing prices of commodities, etc., need to be revised to make sure no human being suffers from hunger or the absence of required medical care. For this purpose, Kailasa has presented a detailed report on effective solutions for COVID-19 through the multilateralism that was published by the United Nations in their website, ochr.org. The previous articles, earlier reports recognized by the UN, by the Kailasa Union, are reports on the rights of indigenous women and girls, and the second report on the femicide. Now, let us see a detailed report by the Adi Shaivite minority tradition, which is also called ASMT, Hindu Community Kailas Union, which was submitted on in the month of June 2021. The introduction to this is key obstacles. First, the globalization of disease has led the world to be only as resilient as the least resilient country and person, especially for highly contagious COVID-19, which has spread with scale and severity not seen since Spanish flu. The variants of the virus, Delta, Delta plus, Epsilon, such, continue to threaten even those vaccinated. The secondary diseases such as black fungus are targeting COVID patients and killing almost 1 in 2 in such cases. Second, distorted policy decisions and conflicting principles can lead to polarizations amongst the nations and within, leading to various extremes such as the hoarding of vaccines in some places, the wastage of vaccines in others, and an unaddressed shortage of vaccines globally. Third, the pandemic has exposed the fragility of the global system. The disruption in the supply chain is especially worrisome for essential food supplies, which disproportionately affects the already most vulnerable even more. Fourth, lockdowns have brought the global economy into crisis, bringing recessions and worsening unemployment rates. Frequent lockdowns and the ongoing threats of famine, especially in the countries where employment is predominantly informal, are exacerbating worries that starvation may cause more suffering than the virus itself. Far more than the SDG2, the zero hunger, the number is now predicted to come close to 1 billion. You can see the supporting articles here, which are part of the submission, which is published. Now, we've seen the key problems. Now, the solution suggested by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and which has been highly appreciated and recognized by the United Nations. Now, what are the solutions? Let us see. First, revised economic policies. Human life is more precious and important than all economic principles or systems in totality, because all these concepts are legitimate only because of their utility value, which is to fundamentally make human life better. At least until this ongoing crisis ends, all economic policies related to money, banking, fixing prices of commodities, etc., need to be revised to make sure no human being suffers from hunger or the absence of required medical care. Next, as per Hindu principles, the world, including the economy, evolves through 5 phases. First, creation or growth. Second, sustenance or stagnation. Third, recession or revitalization. Fourth, reinvention. Fifth, breakthrough. As per Hinduism, conventional economic growth is observed when best practices are applied diligently. However, during times of crisis, lead us to the fourth and fifth phases, wherein the need to reinvent and deliver a breakthrough becomes both a survival need and an opportunity to surpass any means and measures of conventional economic growth. Next is, according to the Keynesians, the increased public expenditure during the Great Depression of 1929 improved the economy. However, the government never completely gave up trying to balance the budget, which resulted in it never spending enough to bring the economy out of recession until the Second World War. Similarly, the current crisis requires governments to temporarily discard trying to balance the economic interest that compromise the quarantine safety and put human life at risk, and rather reinvent their economic strategies and multilateral coordination for benefiting during the subsequent breakthrough period after the end of the crisis. Next is Hindu multilateralism. There is an immense inequality in the capacities of governments, the organizations, and people on 2 grounds. First is health response, second is economic recovery. Surviving the highly contagious COVID-19, where the world is only as resilient as the least resilient country and person, requires governments, organizations, and people to collectively address the crisis. From 3200 BCE, 56 nations in Asia had multilateral treaties based on the Hindu principle Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means the entire world is my family, which is the scriptural reference from Maha Upanishad, chapter 6, verse 71 to 73. You can see the supporting articles projected here on the screen. Next is provide sustainable communities livings which multi-layered quarantine. home or self-quarantine is not a viable solution for vast majority of people for either health safety or economic reasons. In Assam, home quarantine has been reported to be a primary reason for a large number of deaths. In some places, governments have moved people out of home quarantine to COVID care centers. Other issues linked with quarantine, especially in small houses, are mental health problems, such as an increase in suicidal ideation, especially amongst the younger generation. This requires friendly quarantine setups which are self-sustained and sufficient in terms of food stock and supplies, recreation, employment, education, etc. In India, state governments have attempted to provide free and paid solutions which face various challenges related to hygiene, exorbitant pricing. Some facilities have seen challenges related to requests for private accommodation. Empirical townships such as Araville have demonstrated a fair amount of success in creating a friendly, safe, and compliant quarantine facility. However, solutions such as Araville are not open to the public. For 2 decades, the leader of the ASMT Hindu community, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, had been creating townships like Araville across more than 100 cities in several countries. Most of these townships, such as the ASMT Monastery, India, Bangalore, have been open to offer multi-layer quarantine as free public service with the free food and accommodation, free internet to work from home, that is monastery. The ASMT community has seen a fair amount of success in this township with zero reported cases of COVID infection in the past 2 years and has already saved many lives. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, has urged citizens worldwide, especially from the regions severely affected by the pandemic, to protect themselves as the topmost priority and avail these free quarantine facilities that the community has created, especially as home quarantine has failed for many and is known to be a primary reason for large number of deaths in many scenarios. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, has emphasized the need and urged the government worldwide to provide food, safety, medical care, and shelter, and all survival needs to all human beings under their care, with absolute multi-layer quarantine until coronavirus is eliminated from planet Earth, including all different strains of virus. Now, seeing the supporting documentation of this, what we presented just now, the supporting documentation. Next, educate citizens on individual pandemic management. Unlike previous pandemics, the current era provides active and real-time and visual information about fatalities. Underreporting of this data may give false hope and make people reckless. Exaggerations in reporting can also make people reckless, and as they may feel eventual death due to a coronavirus is inevitable. So, proper education is extremely crucial as it will dramatically reduce the number of deaths and reduce the challenge on the healthcare systems. Alcohol related deaths have hit the record high during this pandemic. And long post lockdown liquor lines are some extremely worrisome issues regarding which people need to be educated as a top priority. People need to be given confidence in their life and security about their future for them and stop behaving recklessly or fall into depression and commit suicide. Leveraging best of different economic systems based on charity, barter, and money. The ancient Hindu economic treatise by Paramashiva, the primordial Hindu divinity, describes three kinds of economic systems and their principles. First, things that do not perish by sharing, such as education and knowledge. Second, Paramashiva recommends that no fee be charged. That is the first one. Second, for survival needs such as food and healthcare, barter and charity are recommended. Third, for all other infrastructure development works, services, and commodities, gold and conventional currency based transactions are allowed. These systems are still in practice in the modern day recently studied with their close relation to mainstream economics. The World Health Organization and GISAID provided early access to data regarding the virus. That is an example of an open knowledge based economic policy where critical data about the virus was not monetized. Similarly, South Korea helped USA access mask and testing kits. And there was a hope that this would lead to a reciprocal arrangement in terms of vaccines, which is like a barter based model allowed in food and healthcare. Next is Hindu policies for food security, a highly effective concept for ensuring food security in ancient Hindu nations was that of the food grain banks. There were prevalent until 18th century. The elderly in villages would start food grain banks with a seed capital of grains collected by fundraising. And if any person met with a crisis such as crop failure, a food grain bank would lend him grains in exchange for an interest. Compound interest was prohibited in grain banks. So, with the debtor was expected to return with the principal grain amount during the next harvest. The bank would expand its reserves of food grains based on interest earned and donations. At the time of severe crisis such as famine, the entire village would be able to withdraw these grains, and if required, all such grain loans would be written off on humanitarian grounds. In Hindu temples, food is shared for fee as policy. This was the case in both ancient times and in modern times. For 27 years, every month, the Hindu ASMT community has served more than 3 million free organic meals in religious gatherings to everyone without discrimination and has served over 1 billion free meals in total. Such private and public efforts are crucial in ace the threats of starvation, which is estimated to hit a billion people worldwide. Next is monitor global health. The crisis requires governments to take aggressive, proactive measures to monitoring health. Smartphone applications have been used by the governments that are based on health code color systems that categorize individuals into three color groups based on their health status and travel history, and then determine whether they need to be quarantined. Now you're seeing the supporting documentation published in this article by the United Nations. Through their privacy related concerns associated with these approaches, some of these measures, such as agile daily reporting systems for accounting of newly suspected diagnosed asymptomatic cases, number of deaths, and generating area-wide statistics, have played an important role in proactively responding to curb the spread of the disease and are being considered for implementation by various countries. Now you're seeing the supporting documentation. Next is traditional medicine. Excuse me. In Hinduism, nature and planet Earth are respected as living divine mother energies capable of providing us with all our survival needs, that is food, medicine, etc. Through the traditional medicines such as TCM and Ayurveda are effective in addressing COVID related issues. And a few years ago, a Nobel Prize was awarded for scientific work based traditional medicines. The mainstream Western medicine has chosen to characterize Ayurveda as pseudoscience and TCM as unscientific. Such demeaning of traditional medicine systems have led nations to consider taking defensive unilateral decisions to protect their interest. The outright rejection of the traditional medicine is not wise, and such policies should be revisited, especially as these medicine systems are time tested and have kept people healthy for several generations. Kailasa Union recommends governments worldwide provide solutions like Kailasa's Hindu medicinal care, which includes completely free of charge services such as Ayurveda, Yoga, Siddha, Western medicines, and the multi-layered quarantine for complementing their ongoing public health efforts. You can see the supporting documentation here are projected. Now, the greatest news is Kailasa's recommendations is what we saw just now on COVID-19 and multilateralism to be presented at the United Nations General Assembly and Human Rights Council. I can see the picture of the United Nations General Assembly. Kailasa's report and recommendations on an international treaty on COVID got accepted and published by the United Nations. Surviving the highly contagious COVID-19, where the world is only as resilient as the least resilient country, and person requires true multilateralism, the governments, organizations, and people to collectively address the crisis. Kailasa has been successfully providing grassroots solid solutions in multifarious ways, including providing sustainable community livings with multi-layered quarantine, educating citizens on individual pandemic management, leveraging best of different economic systems based on charity, barter, and money, and providing food security and traditional Hindu medicine. These unique contributions have been recognized by the United Nations and were published a few days ago at their website www.ohchr.org. Now that we know the Kailasa is through Kailasa's ecosystem, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism successfully implemented the multi-layered quarantine and protecting the people, one and all. So make use of this opportunity and save your life. Sign up and join these COVID protection centers and register now through the link below, https://kailasa.org/Kailasa care. Now, let us see the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, how he is reviving and the temple ecosystems and what is the significance of this. Let us understand a little bit. Revival of temple sciences and ecosystems. And across India, especially the majority of the temples which have been functioning for ages, like thousands and thousands of years seamlessly, are now closed for an indefinite period due to the rise in the COVID pandemic. The The Siddhi examples let us see on different states of India. Siddhi and Siddhi Vinayaka temple shut down till further orders. The Siddhi temple administration took the decision after the Maharashtra government announced a weekend lockdown and night curfew in the state to control the spread of coronavirus. The Puri Jagannath temple to remain closed for public. This famous temple, keeping in view of the surge of the COVID-19 cases in Odisha and also in Puri, the authorities of the temple of Lord Jagannath in the pilgrim town on Sunday. Famous temple is closed for devotees since May 5th, as a statewide lockdown was imposed by the Odisha government. The next, all religious places closed for public in Bhubaneswar as the city records the highest daily COVID surge. With the Odisha capital Bhubaneswar registering the highest ever single day spike of 581 new COVID-19 cases, the local municipal authorities declared the closure of all religious places such as the um, temples, mosques, gurudwaras, and churches for devotees till further orders. And the Uttar Pradesh, the major Madura temples ban entry of devotees amidst the COVID-19 surge. Two major temples of Sapta Devalaya, the cluster of 7 temples in Vrindavan, and the recently banned the entry of devotees in view of raising COVID-19 cases. Gujarat Somnath temple closed for darshan amidst the COVID-19 surge. In view of surge of the COVID-19 infection, the Somnath Temple Trust has announced that the temple will remain shut for devotees from April 11 for an indefinite period. On the other hand, Tamil Nadu, the South India, Chola era temple murtis beheaded. Murtis of the Chola era temple have been vandalized in Pudukkottai, Tamil Nadu. A devotee who went to the temple was shocked to find all the murtis in the temple in a beheaded state. He lodged a complaint with the local police later. The Kailasa temple in a village in Pudukkottai is said to belong to the era of Kulichunga Chola too. With Shiva as the presiding deity, the temple houses the other deities such as Ganesha, Parvati, Murugan, Krishna, and Nandi. All of these murtis were discovered in a beheaded state a few days ago. Now, let us see how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism contribution towards the addressing this pandemic by reviving, implementing successfully the Kailasa's de facto spiritual embassies. Now let us understand across the world, now in the times when COVID-19 is rampant and the ancient temples are in lockdown because of the risk of the widespread corona disease, we have seen some of these examples across the states of India. The famous temples are shut down. The devotees of these temples were visiting and having darshans of their gods and goddesses for thousands of years. Yet, all these ancient sacred sentiments have come to a harming halt after the lockdowns have taken place. These the religious fervor of the devotees is being lost due to the pandemic. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the Kailasa ecosystem and bringing all these ancient traditions to the online platforms on Kailasa TV, YouTube, and Facebook. Now, let us understand the signs, the why we deity worship with the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in his own words. Let's understand deities are not mere idols, they are embodiment of ideals. We do not worship the idols, we worship the ideals represented through the idols. When the divine is present before him in a form that he can see, touch, and relate to, the transmutation becomes an easy and joyful process. Second, the deities in a real kshetra are always carved in the form of ancient masters and enlightenment beings. Even though no longer in the body, they can be invoked through the name or form they used while in the physical plane. When we pray to the deity or chant its name, the corresponding divine vibration is automatically awakened and becomes available on the energy plane to guide and bless us. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism um, says, we mastered the science of bringing the divine to the deities and expressing the divine through the deities. The whole science has been mastered in the Vedic tradition. The revival of temples will be the revival of world peace and world bliss. Revival of temple culture, the deity worship, where people are made to look in, that is where the revival of Sanatana Dharma, the Advaita Satya, the truth of oneness, is going to happen. The divine manifest, the divine manifest in various the divine manifests in various auspicious qualities to save a devotee or to save the world from a destruction. For example, Shiva saved Markandeya from death. Markandeya was born in such that with the parents' intense penance when Paramashiva appeared to have a son of with no good quality, but he can live 100 years, and with a highly spiritual being, but lives only 16 years. The Markandeya's parent chose a boy who lives the 16 years. But they were devastated as the Markandeya approaching age 16. By knowing this, the parents' sadness, the sorrow, the Markandeya decided to please Paramashiva and remove the parents' sorrow. So he intensely prayed Paramashiva. So on the day of his death, expected death, the Lord of Death is Kala. He arrived and and was about to take his life away. The Markandeya hugged the Paramashiva linga and prayed intensely Paramashiva. Paramashiva appeared to along with the Devi and protected Markandeya from the Kala and become Kala, the Lord of Death. And that become an independent deity. As Kala, not only Paramashiva saved Markandeya from death, but also has given the boon of the immortality and told him to write the scriptures and blessed him with all the knowledge. And Markandeya gave the humanity the Mrityunjaya mantra. And the same way, Paramashiva danced in ecstasy. As a cosmic dancer, he performs the Panchakrutyas of the creation, sustenance, the rejuvenation, and the pulling out of delusion and liberation finally. And the cosmic dancer, Paramashiva, that becomes an independent intelligence and become Nataraja. Mahavishnu's very action of showering blessings on the world becomes Lakshmi. Brahma's very action of constantly sharing the wisdom becomes Saraswati. So each of the actions of the ultimate becomes independent intelligence and energy. So when you connect with those independent intelligences, those deities, whatever you want immediately happens. Whatever result you want, worship with right those divine energies who are the personification of those specific actions. Immediate results are achieved by connecting with those deities. In this world, this can be a powerful method through which you can achieve whatever you want in your life. Join now in these COVID care production centers. Register now through the link below, https://kailasa.org/Kailasa care. I repeat, https://kailasa, Kailasa, kailasa.org/Kailasa care, Kailasa C-A-R-E. Now we'll see how these Kailasa's multi-layered quarantine opportunity for India during the COVID-19 as a practical solution resulting in health, joy, and bliss. How the Kailasa de facto spiritual embassies, the level of the micromanagement, the level of details are implemented in these quarantine centers, in these de facto spiritual embassies, by the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Let us understand more about this. Let us understand what Devi revealed in recently about the Krimi Bhojanam.
நீ சொல்லும் நபர்கள் போடும் சண்டை சச்சரவெல்லாம் எரியும் பெருநெருப்பில் இருக்கும் இரண்டு எலிகள் போடும் சண்டை போன்றது. யார் சரி யார் தவறென்பது இப்பொழுது முக்கியம் அல்ல. உயிர் காத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள், எல்லோரும் நன்றாய் புரிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள். நன்மையைச் சொல்லுகின்றேன், உண்மையைச் சொல்லுகின்றேன். இந்திய நாட்டில் இருக்கும் மக்கள் எல்லோரும் கேளுங்கள். கருட புராணத்தில் வியாசன் சொன்ன கிருமி போஜனம் என்னும் நரகம் திறந்து நேரடியாய் இந்தியா மீது இடிபோல் விழுகின்றது. ஆதி கைலாசத்திற்கு ஓடிச் சென்று வருமுன் காத்துக்கொள்வது மட்டுமே ஒரே வழி. கொரோனா பெருந்தொற்று கொள்ளை நோய் கிருமி போஜனம் எனும் நரகத்தை பூமிக்கு கொண்டு வந்து விட்டது. அகோர தாண்டவத்தின் ஆட்டம் யாராலும் அடக்க முடியாத அளவிற்கு ஆரம்பித்து விட்டது. புதிதாய் உருக்கொண்டிருக்கும் இந்த நுண்ணுயிரி மைல்கள் கடந்தும் காற்றினில் உயிரோடு இருந்து மற்ற உயிர்களையும் அழித்து உடல்களை தின்னும் பெரும் வலிவு கொண்ட பேரசுரர்களாய் வலம் வர துவங்கி விடுகின்றது. வருமுன் காத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள், அது ஒன்றே வழி. அதற்காகவே ஆதி கைலாசத்தை திறந்து வைத்திருக்கின்றேன். உயிர் காத்துக் கொள்ள வேண்டி விரும்பும் எல்லோரும் ஓடுங்கள் ஆதி கைலாசத்திற்கு. இந்தியாவில்தான் இந்த நரகம் திறந்து உலகெங்கும் பரவப் போகின்றது. கிருமி போஜன நரகம் பூமிக்கு வந்துவிட்டது. மனிதர்கள் செய்த மகா கொடுமைகளினால். என்னை முன்னின்று என் அடியவரை காப்பேன் சொல்வதை கேட்டு உயிர் காத்துக் கொள்ள விரும்புவோர் வருமுன் காப்பது ஒன்றே வழி என்று தெரிந்து செல்லுங்கள் ஆதி கையிலைக்கு. ஓம் நீ.
Now let us see the translation of this, of Devi Parashakti's Akashic readings on 31st May 2021. Everyone in India, all of you listen. The hell of Krimi Bhojanam that was mentioned by Vyasa in Garuda Puranam has opened and is directly falling on India as thunder. Running to Adi Kailasa and protection from it is the only way. Deadly corona life-taking disease has brought the hell known as Krimi Bhojanam to earth. The dance of Aghora Thandava, which no one could control, has started. This microorganism that has formed will be alive in air for miles together. Destroying other souls, it will eat bodies. It has started roaming as the great demons with tremendous strength. Understand properly. Prevention is the only way. For that, I have opened Adi Kailasa for those who want to save their lives. All of you run to Adi Kailasa. Only in India, this hell is going to open and is going to spread to the whole world. This Krimi Bhojanam hell has come to the earth because of the sufferings done by the humans. Mother, I will protect those who at my feet. Those who listen to me and wish to save their lives, learning that prevention is the only way, go to Adi Kailasa. The various scriptural references of this Krimi Bhojanam that Devi mentioned in the Akashic readings is Krimi Bhojana is one of the 28 hells described in Hindu scriptures, where people are sent to suffer in a pit to be eaten up by the worms. In Garuda Purana, one of the chapter, Cosmogony of Hell and the Nether Regions, the Devi Bhagavata Purana, chapter 21 on the narrative of hells, chapter 22 on the narrative of the sins leading to hells, the Shiva Purana, chapter 16, uplift from the hell, section 5, in Skanda Purana, chapter 12, redemption from hells, chapter 2 of the merit of visiting Setu, chapter 30th, the glory of Danishkoti. The Brahma Purana, chapter 20, hell in nether regions, and chapter 106, sufferings in hell. The Padma Purana, chapter 48, section on the nether world. Now, if we some of the statistics around the world, the death in millions, 3 million, and the confirmed cases are in close to 140 million, and the daily death rates are about 12,744, and the other related so many state of the world, current state of the world statistics you can see here. A quiet revolution has permeated global health crisis. Authorities have come to accept what many researchers have urged for over a year. The coronavirus can spread through the air. The new acceptance by the World Health Organization and the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention comes with concrete implications. Scientists are calling for ventilation systems to be overhauled, like public water supplies were in the 1800s after fetid pipes were found to harbor cholera. Cleaner indoor air won't just fight the pandemic. It will minimize the risk of catching flu and other respiratory infections that cost the US more than 50 billion a year. Researchers said in a study in the journal Science on the recently, avoiding these germs and their associated sickness and productivity losses will therefore offset the cost of upgrading ventilation and filtration in buildings. The SARS CoV2 virus can travel on very small particles that disperse quickly outdoors, but can build up inside. The indoors, these particles can affect people who stay more than 6 feet away. And the hodgepodge of mass Americans have adopted may provide some COVID protection, but they do not render an unsafe situation safe. Though scientists have been discussing airborne transmission for months, it was only last week that the World Health Organization and the CDE made this official. With the vaccine rollout still in its early days across the world, these officials should follow up these belated admission with guidance that unvaccinated people can use to minimize their risk. Now, the Mint published that the world's most infectious disease now airborne. In a letter, what have scientists told a World Health Organization? How does the disease pass from one person to another? The story so far, recently on June 6th, 239 scientists from 32 countries put their signatures on an open letter that said COVID-19 is also transmitted via aerosols. Title: It is time to address airborne transmission of COVID-19. And addressed to the World Health Organization, they said there was enough evidence to show that viruses are released during exhalation, talking, and coughing as microdroplets small enough to remain aloft and pose a risk of exposure at distances beyond 1 to 2 meters from someone who is infected over 3 feet to 6 feet, recommended for physical distancing between people to avoid transmission. The various statistics that you see across states of India. Now, the home quarantine is not possible in India. The statement made by the Indian government. The home quarantine is prime reason for a large number of deaths in Assam. The Himanta Biswa Sharma, the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma said that the home quarantine is one prime reason for the large number of deaths and during the second wave of COVID-19 in Assam. The death Assam witnessed the 92 deaths, which has the highest single day death in the state. Sharma said, we have seen more death cases are happening from the home isolation as several people do not have the facilities to protect themselves from corona. The Maharashtra government recently announced the decision to stop home quarantine in 18 districts, which show a higher COVID positivity rate than the state's average. The state's public health minister Rajesh Tope said that the decision was taken to ensure better healthcare facilities to patients in districts which are showing higher positivity rate. About 41% of the houses have just a single room, which is shared by about 5%. About 41% household in India have just one room or don't have an exclusive living room, and about 5 people share such accommodations. About 32% of the household have 2 rooms, and adding to the O's is the fact that only 47% of the household have access to water within the premises, and 42% don't have a bathing facility within the premises. In order to utilize the India's healthcare infrastructure optimally to manage the expanding fallout of coronavirus, the central government on 27th April signaled a change in approach from mandating that every person who tests positive for the virus to be moved to isolation beds in dedicated hospitals or units. The government allowed home quarantine for those with mild symptoms. The key additional condition was that their house should allow for self quarantine. That in India, it's easier than that. According to the census 2011, about 42% of Indian households were living in houses where an average 3 or more people were sharing a room. In the context of coronavirus, this challenge of physical distancing is greater in rural areas, about 45% of the households, than in urban areas, about 35% of households. Only one state, Kerala, is looking relatively dignified in this metric. And the all districts reporting at least 250 cases have anywhere between 34 and to 54 households, averaging 3 or more to a room. So, COVID-19 crisis, where is the space for home quarantine in cities? New Delhi, the health ministry last week said most cases of coronavirus had been asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic and had advised home isolation for such people. It is also said that 65% cases across the country were reported from the metros and big cities. However, census data suggests and experts also agree that the following ministry's guidelines on home quarantine is near impossible, particularly in urban households. The guidelines on the home quarantine say the person showing COVID-19 symptoms has to remain isolated in a well ventilated room, preferably with an attached toilet. If another family member needs to stay in the same room, it is advisable to maintain a distance of at least 1 meter between the two, it's stated. Now, when the first world countries closed their borders during a massive global emergency, Kailasa has opened its door to all without exception. And these efforts have been recognized and highly appreciated by the United Nations. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism reveals at least 6 months back, I became aware that the multi layer quarantine is needed to protect people. If you are in India, if you want to protect your immediate family or extended family, anyone who will listen to you, get them immediately into our campuses. The various protection care centers open across India are Adi Kailasa in Bidadi, Bangalore, Salem Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Tirunamalai Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Rajapalam Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Puduvai Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Pattanam Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Srirangapadi Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Tripuram Adinam in Hyderabad, Madurai Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Avattipalam, Erode, Tamil Nadu, Huzur Adinam in Tamil Nadu, Baroda Adinam in Gujarat. Kailasa rushes to help as India finds itself on the verge of COVID-19 third wave. Multiple free COVID care centers opened across India. The various social services offered during the pandemic in Nithyananda ashrams across India. The spiritual services offered during the pandemic in Nithyananda ashrams across the India and cosmic revelations on global pandemic. The free social services offered during the pandemic in Nithyananda ashrams across India includes medical care, which includes allopathy, Ayurvedic, and Siddha medicine, fire safety equipment medicine, infrastructure to accommodate thousands, accommodation for multi-layered quarantine, emergency ambulances and ICU on wheels, personal protective medical equipment, groceries collected for Annadan, and organic farming. Join now in these Kailasa's COVID care protection centers. Register now through the link below, https://kailasa.org/Kailasa care. Now, let us see some of the glimpses from Kailasa's Department of Health on COVID protection for Adi Kailasa Sarvajnapeetham. The immunity boosters and COVID care supplements procurement allopathy immune boosters include zinconia, vitamin D, and vitamin C. Through Ayurvedic medicines, immunity boosters are being provided to protect all the residents of Adi Kailasa Sarvajnapeetham. Steaming once a day with tulsi, eucalyptus, nochi, and turmeric leaves. All these herbal leaves are taken from the healing trees here in Adi Kailasa. Twice a week, consumption of Kabasura kundanir, a mixture of pepper, ginger, and clove, and other ingredients extensively aimed for boosting the lungs, improving the respiratory system, and treating infectious conditions such as cough, cold, and fever. The Neelavembu Kundanir to be taken once a week, Agatya Lehyam 5 days, and Talisadi Vatakam 3 to 4 tablets per day for 5 days, and Indu Ganta Kashayam and Amrutottara Kashayam both for 5 days, 1 teaspoon with 50 ml of warm water. And Sudarshana Kulika once in every 5 days, gargling with salt and turmeric twice a day, and spiritual routine Panchakriya, Haritaki, Castrile, neem juice, Pradama Vinyasa Krama, Trinetra Kumbhaka, and Puja. The basic sanitation and safety practices, which includes the disposable of soil pads, infected material, and the non-biodegradables done through incineration. The RO water systems for drinking water, cleansing and sanitization of overhead tanks, regular reweeding, maintenance and repair of electrical circuits, communication facilities for safety of the residents, compost pit filling with biodegradables. Immediately, the diagnosis and COVID care quarantine methodology includes the immediately upon arrival to the campus, occupants will be quarantined for 15 days. Swab test of RT-PCR test done on day 5th of quarantine. All hold handlers to be wearing a mask and gloves and keeping distance. Disposal of waste food to be done with gloves and mask. Disposal of gloves and mask by the incineration, and in case of an emergency, protective kits ready to hand to take a COVID positive patient to the hospital. Washing hands as often as thoroughly with soap and water or with alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid sharing any items, example dishes, drinking glasses, cups, eating utensils, towels, bedding, and other items with other residents in the Adinam. The mask protection, wear a mask at all times when and if exposed to vendors or outside people. Double layer cotton mask should be changed every day up to 24 hours and can be reused after washing with detergent and sun dried. If it gets wet by saliva, secretions, or sweat, change it and wear a dry mask. The wet mask can be stored in a sealed plastic cover and washed with the detergent and reused later. You can see the picture here. The face shield will be provided as an extra protective wear for the people at the gate, interacting with the vendors and outsiders. Use of hand sanitizer, hand washing, regular steaming, taking of preventive kashayams. The kashayam is an herbal drink. Turmeric salt water gargling and bathing with washing clothes with history of any exposure. If symptoms appear, cough, fever, difficulty in breathing, he or she should be immediately inform the medical person in charge immediately. First line of quarantine. This is the quarantine rules. People in the first line who are in contact with the vendors, area of stay confined to the outermost area where the communication with the outside is happening with the vendors, etc. Stay in a well ventilated single room, preferably with an attached separate toilet. Persons should not come into contact with inmates of Adinam, especially elderly people, pregnant women, children, and the persons with comorbidities, which are hypertension, diabetics, heart problems, asthma, etc. Restrict um, restricts his or her movement within the area room, the first line of quarantine. All parcels received at the gate to be sanitized, spraying with disinfectant. These are the delivery of packages. All deliveries will be contactless delivery. Wearing of free coverings and hand gloves are mandatory if contactless delivery is not an option. or request the delivery to be left in a protected and isolated place. The outer packaging of the item or product will be disposed before it enters the Adhinam. The packages will be quarantined before being delivered. All the delivery bags, boxes, containers will be thrown away after transferring the items to their respective places. The surfaces of the packages will be cleaned with a simple disinfectant and left to dry. All hands handling the packaging will be thoroughly washed with soap and water and or antibacterial solution frequently. All mail and packaged products, non-perishable, will be left outside for 24 hours before using them. Disinfection, sodium hypochlorite, bleach and chloride will be used with 1 tablespoon of bleaching powder in 3 cups. Alcohol at 70 to 90% will also be used for surface disinfection. Clothes to be washed separately with the detergent and dried. Sharing of items is strictly prohibited. This prevents the spread of the virus. The warning signs: fever continues for more than 5 days. Fever returns in the second week after having been for a day or two. Fever more than 101 Fahrenheit after day 4. Resting heart rate, which is if it's above 110, when there is no activity happening. If it is above 110, breathlessness, tightness in the chest, and oxygen saturation of less than 94% on pulse oximeter. 6-minute walk test, record the saturation rate before and after walking briskly for 6 minutes. If the saturation falls by more than 3%, it is not favorable, and less than 94%, it is not good too. The relentless cough, which is continuous coughing. You can see the in-campus ambulance. Prevention is the best medicine. People who come in as newly will be given as a separate room with toilet facility. Under no circumstances will they exit the room. The designated quarantine person picks up the food after the person who serves the food is at a safe distance of 6 feet. The food will be placed outside the door. Monitor the temperature, pulse rate, and oxygen saturation levels once a day and more often if the person is symptomatic. Take paracetamol and ensure good hydration, have a nutritious diet, and stream inhalation twice a daily, and salt and turmeric water, hot water gargling twice a day. Ayurvedic and Siddha medication will be given as per the instructions, and doctor will be contacted if there is a worsening of symptoms for specific management, which could be further consultation, investigations, and treatment. Residents will be asked to continue taking medications if they are on any blood pressure, sugar, or heart elements. Doctors will be consulted if comorbid conditions pose a higher risk. Residents on medication will be asked to bring 2 months of supply till the Adhinam is able to organize the medications for them. Residents will be asked to take a long deep breath, pranayama, lie in prone position on the tummy as much as possible so the lungs expand well. If there is no symptoms, the person will come out of quarantine after a total of 15 days. The test will not be repeated if clinically well. If there are symptoms, the person will need to be retested and need medical opinion and necessary investigations and treatment. The common symptoms, as all you know, the fever, sore throat, fatigue, cough, body aches, headaches, loose stools, vomiting, loss of sense of smell, loss of sense of taste, exhaustion, giddiness, fainting. Previous mentioned symptoms will be provided with immediate evaluation and hospital care. Early detection of these warning signs and identifying the timeline is very crucial for better outcome. These will be monitored very closely and is the most important thing that needs to be done. Identifying the day one of the symptoms is very crucial in the management of the monitoring the treatment protocols. And um, we're just going over the various measures, the micromanaging, the extremely implemented to the core every aspect of any possibility of the spread of this virus or any contraction suspect, anything, everything is absolutely taken care with the help of the medical team and all the supporting team here in the Adi Kailasa. So, and successfully implemented, and now it is recognized by the United Nations of this highly and highly appreciated all these efforts by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, along with his the in this Kailasa's de facto spiritual centers. You can see various rules, regulations, quarantine, and what to do in case of emergencies, all the equipment which are taken care, everything to the micromanaged every step of this protection. So, by the blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So, make use of this opportunity, protect yourself from Corona. So, join COVID Care Protection Centers. Register now through the link below, https://kailasa.org/Kailasa. I repeat and spell out https://kailasa.org, KAILASA.org/Kailasa care, KAILASA care. So with this, we will conclude here and moving on to the next segment of this program after a short break.
The Sadguru Vandanam. Nithyanandam Paramashivoham Bhavaditam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Let's go through the disclaimers. Security measures. No photography, video, audio recording. Important cautions. Security measures. No photography, video, audio recording. Important cautions. Please be aware of the important cautions. Let's hear from Bhagwan himself explaining what is power manifestation.
All the 25 states of consciousness, when they happen in you, due to your chemicals and hormones ups and downs, it is powerlessness. When it happens in you, out of your free will and consciousness, it is powerfulness. That's all. When you fall into sleep, it is powerlessness. When you enter into sleep, it is powerfulness. When you fall into dream, it is powerlessness. When you decide to dream, it is powerfulness. So I have added the ultimate powerfulness, Turyatita, in your whole being and doing. Manifest all the powers. Understand, power manifestation is nothing but cognitive shift. It is not work. It is cognitive shift. Understand? It is just cognitive shift. It's not work. Work is a 4-letter word. Power manifestation is cognitive shift. Playing with life. Playing with being alive.
Beautifully, Bhagavan said, what is powerful cognition and how the cognitive shift reflects as conscious sovereignty as our reality, from what we understand as body and mind, as matter, to experience the consciousness, the higher frequency and higher dimensions that we can exist, how we understand sleep, how we understand dream state. Same way we can understand and cognize the conscious sovereignty as our reality, which is also one of our state, which we forget to understand how we exist in that state. And that science is science of our manifestation. It is manifested by each and every one of them. And it's a science for us to understand that it is possible for us. Now the evidences listed here to support it is a science and everybody can experience it. The Shastra Pramana, the eternal unchangeable truth revealed in the source scriptures as Vedas and Agamas. Apta Pramanas, the experience and the results of Aptas, millions of them who are manifesting all the powers of Paramashiva, having a superconscious breakthrough from human to superconscious. The Rishis, Munis, Ganas, Nainamas, Alvars, Siddhas, all of them. Atma Pramana, account of His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, this millennium's avatar's personal experience of each power manifestation. Bhagavan's very own Leela, showcasing how a human can have a superconscious breakthrough and manifest as powers. Shakshi Pramana, the experience of the millions of devotees, disciple, followers all around the world initiated by Bhagavan into the science of power manifestation. Bhagavan beautifully says, I myself will be in the Kailash courtyard and I will manifest through each and every one of them as conscious sovereignty. Pratyaksha Pramana, the scientific study measuring the effect of being in the enlightened state. Again and again, Bhagavan clearly says how once you start experiencing even few powers, you can start experiencing the thoughtless space as your reality, which is the one which everybody is running all over the world to experience through meditation, through tapas, through yoga, through all kinds of things, even drugs. But here, just with a cup of coffee or a chocolate milk, Bhagavan makes you all manifest the greatest science, just like that, in the most easy and such a beautiful oneness space. Now let's go to the Shastra Pramana. The Shastra Pramana, are the eternal, unchangeable truth revealed in the source scriptures, the Vedas and the Agamas. This is from Shiva Sutra, Sutra 1.16.
Is taken from the Shiva Sutras, verse 1.16. Shuddha Tattva Sandhanadva Apashu Shaktihi. Shuddha Tattva Sandhanadva Apashu Shaktihi.
Bhagavan Paramashiva says, by fixing the self and aiming at the pure essence, cognizing the depth of one's being, that all that exists is Paramashiva, the pure essence, Suddha Tattva, and attaining and uniting with the pure essence and existential reality, Paramashiva, he experienced Paramashiva and manifests Paramashiva's infinite power. The beautiful space that manifests as reality, that Paramashiva space in all of us, that reality, how it can exist as our conscious serenity, as our reality. The depth, the dimension, this is for the reference for the power of listening to the lower or the higher sound. So great that all of us can experience all these realities when we are in the higher consciousness. It's like if you are in a college and you are asked to write a third grade exam, how would you feel? It's so simple and so easy. Same thing, when you are in the higher consciousness, all the things in the life becomes easier and simpler to manifest, whether it is health or wealth or abundance, relation, job, or manifesting or invention or discovery. Everything becomes phenomenal in our life when we are more intelligent and we can grasp the higher cognition of how we exist. Such a beautiful space of oneness can create that beautiful happening in our life. That is conscious sovereignty that Bhagavan is telling us. Again and again it says, fixing the self and aiming at the pure essence. Once we understand how we exist, we can manifest all the powers. All the great saints have manifested all the powers only by the higher science, higher cognition, not by any outer world inputs through the five senses. The five senses are just the utility to work in coordination with what we understand, download from the higher consciousness. But we do the other way around of using the five senses as the mere utility to even learn the outer reality, the existential reality, which becomes impossibility. So here Bhagavan gives the ultimate science for us to experience the oneness with Paramashiva, even listening to the higher or the lower sounds. The Om that is chanted even by the sun could be heard by NASA now. And they say very clearly it is the sound of the cosmos. The only thing that we need to do is raise our frequency to the cosmic frequency. Then we are enlightened. How do we do that? We are stuck because of the outer world is constantly disturbing us into who we are. If we understand how the higher frequency that we can exist and merge into that, we will not be into any of the issues in the lower frequencies. If we understand this greater science, we will be simply able to manifest the powers. The greatest of the Pramanas were able to give the highest reality. Here, Bhagavan Krishna in Mahabharata book, Karna Parva, section 94, third paragraph, last three lines clearly says how his conch, he had his conch, when he blew his conch, and it was the winning of the Pandavas or Kauravas, how the sound was resonating in the higher frequency. And this was the sign that Pandavas won the war. They used all these great auspiciousness way to manifest the sound in the way the sound of Krishna, conch shell, used to vibrate and circulate all over the world, and they could hear anywhere in the world the greatest science. Bhagavan beautifully explains how the Pasupati and how we can experience the five states that Bhagavan beautifully gives us, the 25 states. And the five states mainly how we manifest and how we merge into the oneness with Paramashiva.
Back in Samadhi. This whole flow is Shivanyana. This whole flow is Paramashivanyana. Listen. Anyone understands this whole flow is liberated immediately. Liberation happens by understanding of this simple knowledge. It's too simple. That's the most beautiful thing. It's too simple. We understand how the car functions. Any automobile, there will be shaft through which power is transmitted into gearbox, and different gears are there, which is connected to the wheel, which actually moves the vehicle. Those gears come and get connected to the power gear. Understand, the power gear is the cosmic logic. Paramashiva, Parameshwara. When the gear is rotating, this each gears which empowers the wheel. Sometimes only the front two wheels are powered. Sometimes all four wheels are powered. This gears which connected to the wheels come and get connected to the power gear and move the vehicle when the vehicle need not be moved, or the speed need to be increased. That means the gears need to be changed. This gear which is connected to power gear moves out. Either the other gear comes and gets clutched, or if the vehicle need to stop, no gear comes and the whole vehicle just stops. Understand this principle. The power gear, the source power gear is Parameshwara, Paramashiva. The individual gears which comes and gets connected is individual soul, binary logic. You, Pashu. Pashu gets empowered by Pati. Sometimes Pati empowers Pashu. Sometimes Pati maintains the speed of the Pashu. Sometimes Pati withdraws from Pashu. Sometimes Pashu starts getting deluded. It has its own independent supernal effulgence without getting connected to Pati. Then sometimes Pati liberates Pashu from that delusion. Understand? Pashu, bound self, is binary logic of this world, this universe, empowered by cosmic logic, Paramashiva, the source power gear. If you know when is the principle, when is the source gear empowering, and when it is withdrawing, when Paramashiva is empowering you, individual soul, when he is neutral, when he is withdrawing, when he is letting you fall into dilution and delusion, when he liberates. Understand? This simple secret is that most wonderful Paramashiva Jnana. Paramashiva is revealing in this Saranyanotragama.
Shakshi Pramana are the initiated disciples all over the world. Nithyananda.
So beautifully, Bhagavan has given us how Pashu and Pati, how we function, and how Paramashiva puts us into different states, how he maintains us, how he shows us the higher possibility, then how he maintains and sometimes withdraw from us and puts us into delusion of how we think we are the one who are doing all the things in the world, and how he pulls us into the liberation. The ultimate oneness happens. All these great signs can be understood if we understand that we just merge into the higher frequency, higher reality of the self-effulgence that happens in us as the Pasu becomes Pati. Here beautifully, a devotee has shared that how she had a problem in the outer world and she solved it just by manifesting her powers as Paramashiva's powers. The other person was shouting and screaming and throwing tantrums. She didn't know what to do. All she did was Mahavakya, sit down calmly and ask Swamiji what would he do. And simply she heard that the Mahavakya made the other person very calm and very fine at the end of the whole thing. That simply she was laughing and nothing happened actually. She was very clear that Mahavakya can make the whole frequency go up, bringing more auspiciousness and abundance as the reality. Clearly, she has shared her experience in this Shakshi Pramana. Now, each one of us are going to experience the power of the sound, how we can experience the sound in much deeper and higher frequencies. If you see the sound frequencies, how they are given in the typical, you can measure the frequency through your app, or you can put a small, like a thin wool or small thread that you can hang it near a tuning fork, and you can see how they are manifesting the frequency. How when now the apps have come, you can download any of the app to experience the higher frequency. The bats are always very good in sensing all these. All the animals are very good. They know when the earthquake is going to happen, when the storm is going to come, and they vacate from the place very clearly. If you see any temple on the main temple Gopura, and we call it Vimana, and the birds keep going every day at the same time in different angles and different ways they fly, according to the joy of the frequency that happens. The bats always in the Garbha Mandir of any of the temples, because they love listening to higher frequencies. Even in bright places where usually bats are not there, but frequencies are high, we have seen tons of bats being there because they love higher frequency. Even as Balasans in Gurukul, Nithyananda Gurukul, have had bats in their dorms because the frequency is so high, even as Balasans out in Gurukul. These great frequencies are all, we can hear it, but unfortunately we have forgotten the science that Bhagavan is making us again understand through the power of third eye. The dog's whistle, or if you don't have any tuning fork or dog whistles, you can play in the YouTube dog whistle or lower or higher frequency and see if you can grasp the higher frequency sound, and you can listen to it lower or higher, however you can play it and listen to it. The tuning fork is there. That will be really great to manifest the higher frequency just through your third eye. And how it vibrates through your third eye, the frequency catches in the tuning fork and it starts vibrating. So we can try different things, how we are going to measure the higher and lower frequency. Now let's sit straight and deeply get connected. If the frequencies are high, even the cell phone switching off and switching on is possible. The gadgets work in a different way when the frequency are high. You already know all these things. So we can really see how your frequency is going to raise today, and you're going to listen to the higher or lower sound. Sit straight with the head, neck and spine in a straight line. Bring Paramashiva to your third eye. The lower three chakras are only reaction. The higher chakras are the frequency modulator with the higher frequency. The more you live in your third eye, you are in the higher frequencies of Paramashiva. Constantly, you are not in reactionary, nothing touches you from the outer world, but only in the oneness space of Paramashiva. You become the higher intelligence. The cosmos is a feedback system. Whatever you cherish, it gives a feedback of that. If you cherish the incompletions, pain, problems, suffering, then you see only that happening in the outer world. But if you cherish, Paramashiva is the reality, and whatever prasada he is giving you is a possibility to break through that and have the higher dimensions experienced. If you hold that as a powerful cognition, then hold you are projecting that more and more in the outer world of more auspiciousness and abundance. The higher the frequency, more auspiciousness, abundance has to be your reality. And more we are into the delusion, the lower frequency that we are, more suffering and more confusion. And no clarity to why, what is happening, and always irritated, frustrated because you don't know. It's like a small child. You don't know what's happening, but as a parent, you know the clay doll is broken, I can fix it. A car is broken, I can fix it. So you don't have to throw a tantrum on a toy. But the same thing happens when you are in higher cognitions. You do not throw tantrum for silly things or get disturbed, but you just manifest. That I know I can manifest my reality, what I want, and I just manifest as I want, command over the reality, because Paramashiva is my very, very original space. And simply he manifests through me whatever is auspicious for me. So absolute unclutching. For this session, no thoughts. As a baby, you did not have any thoughts, or you had very less thoughts. And deep sleep, you did not have any thoughts. So why the thoughts? Because we cherish it. So drop it right now for a few minutes and drop your gadgets. Let's be only in Paramashiva space. Sit as Paramashiva, Parashakti, with 25 heads and 75 eyes and 50 hands. Bring that level of awareness and continuously chant the Mahavakya. It is clearly shown that Mahavakya raises your frequency, and we have measured it many times in Adinam. Whoever chanted, even a person in the jail, a prison, who have chanted, and we have seen that frequency go up like 50%, much more than anybody, even as a prisoner, it works. So for us, when we are in oneness, it completely works in such a higher dimension, higher possibility for each one of us to experience the higher consciousness. Bhagavan is already vibrating in the cosmic frequency. Entangling with him, you also become cosmic frequency, and chanting and merging into him. In reality, you start manifesting all the abundance and auspiciousness. Not just listen to lower frequency or higher frequency. Listen to the primordial frequency, that who you are, the Om itself, who you are vibrating, how the lights merge into white light. All the sound merge into the Om and simply manifest as all the reality. And simply you merge into that and you experience Paramashiva as the ultimate conscious sovereignty. Let us sit straight with the head, neck and spine in a straight line. Chant the Mahavakya with a deep listening, not shouting, but deep listening. And once the Mahavakya becomes the Ajaba Japa, you can just listen, no need to chant. But now you have to chant and listen. And continuously be in the bhava of Parashakti happening on planet Earth. Everything that is happening is Parashakti. And let's experience the higher or lower frequency sound and measurably write down the detail and verify the sounds that you heard is correct. So you can use your YouTube or tuning fork to produce the sounds that lower or higher frequency, or you have a dog whistle, you can use that. Or you have fork, then you can literally bring the frequency happen in it, and you can even put a thread and check it if it's vibrating in a different frequency. So just by chanting the Mahavakya, we are going to experience the higher frequency and bringing auspiciousness, the power of depth dimension. Let's start chanting the Mahavakya.
Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Let Paramashiva's third eye manifest in all our third eyes. Let the Amrita pour, let the Varni open up, manifest in all of us. Let Paramashiva overflow, manifest the powers in all our third eyes. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Let Paramashiva's third eye manifest in all our third eyes. Let the Amrita pour, let the Varni open up, manifest in all of us. Let Paramashiva overflow, manifest the powers in all our third eyes. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Let Paramashiva's third eye manifest in all our third eyes. Let the Amrita pour, let the Vanni open up. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
So beautiful. Please open your eyes. Whatever you have experienced, you can share it in the chat. The vibration are so beautiful. It has transformed many things in life. The sound is a primordial energy which manifests as our reality. The whole sound is how we are all functioning, and how Bhagavan beautifully has said about the Nada Bindu Kala, how we exist as sound and how the particles of the sound vibrates in different frequency. We understand the sound which is the closest for us to understand the quantum space. Mind can never understand the quantum because the infinity can never be understood by the mind. But one thing which can bridge between the mind and consciousness is the sound. That is why we just get melted into the sound, and such great things we can experience. When in the womb, when a new language is taught, even the parents do not know. Now science has got clear proof that the baby when born can speak in that languages. It is very clear that the higher science is catching up with the what we call the primordial sound, how it functions as our reality. And when we emerge into the sound, and simply we can experience the higher reality. The Tyagaraja Aradhanai that has been composed, all the Carnatic music is composed by the greatest saint, Tyageshwara. That great science is being taught how he was enlightened and how he manifested. He very clearly says he used to chant Ramanama, and he chanted for 96 crore time, and then he experienced the oneness, and then he started singing the great songs on the all the gods and goddesses in the Aradhana, that songs that he composed. All the great saints, when they merge into the ultimate, simply song starts happening in them as reality. How they become self-effulgent light. When you deeply meditate, you see the light, and the sound is the very way we exist. So once the sound in us becomes purer and purer and purer, we become Paramashiva. The sound is the very nature how we exist. That is why Bhagavan tells us, if you can listen to the lower frequency and the higher frequency, you are in such a pure space. When you chant any mantra, you do not have the inner space disturbed because there's no verbalization or visualization. There is nothing. It's just a pure sound. Even the sound Om, when we chant, whereas there is nothing that you can visualize or verbalize from there. But the sound itself, when measured and projected on a paper, it gives an infinity symbol. See the coincidence of how things exist. The consciousness, which is infinity, which is what we are, when we vibrate in the Om frequency, when we become the sound itself, we merge into the higher reality. We are nothing but just sound in a different frequency, or light in the quantum space of self-effulgent. The photons, now they're testing the meditation people, they emit more photons, and which is the light source, which is why they feel they are enlightened. They are seeing more light as consciousness, conscious sovereignty. All this great science is supporting what exactly Bhagavan is giving us and as reality and making us more and more intelligent to grasp the higher way of existence. Instead of struggle with the dream that we have, the delusion that we are constantly falling into, and more suffering and death finally happens. So now we'll have one more cycle to experience the oneness with Paramashiva. You can play any of the sound which you cannot hear from the computer, YouTube, or you can make it through the vibration of a fork, or you can chant the Mahavakya, make the tuning fork vibrate in that frequency and test it with a piece of a thread, or you have a dog whistle, you can whistle and you can see if you can listen. All these greater truths, how the sound exists in different frequency, that human can also grasp through the power of third eye. Let's sit straight with the head, neck and spine in a straight line and bring Parashakti to your third eye, Paramashiva with 25 heads, and constantly chant in such a way that you merge into the Paramashiva space and ultimate oneness happens, and suddenly you see that you are no different from Paramashiva, and your manifestation, simply all the auspiciousness and abundance starts happening. The more the higher frequency you are, more the pure space you are without the outer world touching you, the more you are auspiciousness and abundance happening. It is not the other way. The rich people then should feel that way. No, that at some point they have experienced it, so it has happened. But not that the other way is true. If you experience the oneness with Paramashiva, you are bound to experience auspiciousness and abundance. Even as a glimpse, you will be experiencing the greater reality. Let's sit straight in the deep meditation of oneness with Paramashiva, entangling with Bhagavan in the quantum space and chanting the Mahavakya to the highest frequency with a deep listening. Not loudly, but a deep listening, we can become simply oneness with Paramashiva. Let's start chanting the Mahavakya for the cycle 2 for the depth, dimension, power of listening to the lower or higher frequency.
Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Let Paramashiva's third eye manifest in all our third eyes. Let the Amrita pour, let the Vanni open up, manifest in all of us. Let Paramashiva overflow, manifest the powers in all our third eyes. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Let Paramashiva's third eye manifest in all our third eyes. Let the Amrita pour, let the Varni open up, manifest in all of us. Let Paramashiva overflow, manifest the powers in all our third eyes. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 Let Paramashiva's third eye manifest in all our third eyes. Let the Amrita pour, let the
So beautiful. Whatever you have experienced now, you can share it in the tinyurl.com/powermanifestation. All these great signs, when you share it to the world again and again, doing demonstration, doing sharing, it's such a beautiful thing of how you become grounded with the whole science. That is why Bhagavan gives us the possibility of sharing again and again to the world that I am Paramashiva. If you see a $sign, you can contribute to Kailasa. All the things that you contribute, you vote for, you become the Kailasa. These sciences are very simple, but simple integrity and simple obedience, we start manifesting our Paramashiva space. Again and again, 8 billion people are not here to experience this, only the chosen. It is already given in the Upanishad how in million one person understands, and out of these people who understands in the millions, just one get to experience the higher reality. That is the statistics. So that is the reason why others are not able to grasp the higher science. But if you go on sharing with the world how you experience the powerful cognition and power manifestation, they will simply also start manifesting, because they will start resonating in your frequency, higher frequencies. So with a deep gratitude and humble space, let's surrender all the powerful cognition and power manifestation to Bhagwan's lotus feet. Again and again, when we surrender, the more depth in our cognition starts happening. With a deep gratitude and earning, let's chant the Purna Mantra and thank Bhagwan. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavate Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam Paduka Arpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam. Thank you so much. See you again after next satsang and next session in Kailash Kotiyar Manifesting Power session. Don't forget to